Entra ID AuditLogs provide you a record of all of the identity-based activity within your tenant. Activities that include service principals, app registrations, secrets, users, groups, and more. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to properly analyze these events to respond and detect faster. Let's get started. All right, as you can see here, we're in our Log Analytics workspace. I've gone ahead and pre-selected the relevant queries for us to analyze, and we'll take a look at also the values that are returned when we search for logs within this table. So using the approach that we did in the previous video, we'll go ahead and break these down by the specific questions. The first question we need to ask is, what time did this occur? And what IDs are associated with the event, which in this case CorrelationId is including multiple events with the activity. ID is the single event itself. Then we have who made the actual call. Which is initiated by, and this is either an app or a user and is expressed in JSON. And you have what kind of call was made. Here you have category, which tells you the category of the actual operation within Entra. Logged by service is the service that logged the activity. Operation name and display name are basically the same thing. I haven't seen where the actual values are different, but it's basically the operation that took place. Last but not least, you have result. This tells you whether it was successful or that it failed. Then you have impacted resources. This is, so for target resources, they're the resources that the call was made against. And resource ID is the actual resource itself, which would be, in this case, identity and access management. So we'll just call it Azure Entra ID. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do is move over to this query section where I have two actual alerts that we'll break down and analyze. So the first one is time generated. As you can see, this is the actual time that the alert occurred. Then you have CorrelationId, which is a correlation of specific ID events. So you can search for this CorrelationId and you'll see additional events. Then you have ID itself. One thing just to be aware of is that the service is usually the prefix of the actual alert itself. And then you'll see a random string of numbers behind that. Then you have initiated by, as we discussed earlier, this is JSON. You either have app or user, depending on who's making the actual change or who's initiating the change. Then you have category. This is basically the categories that are within the alerts themselves. Just to quickly pivot here, I'll leave this in the description below, but you basically can see the Entra audit log categories and activities. You can go through and review this at your leisure and learn more about the specific types as well as the actual activity names and descriptions. Moving along, you have logged by service. This is the actual service that's logged. Operation name is the actual operation that occurred, which is the same as ActivityDisplayName. Then you see the actual result of the call, which is success. And then you have target resources, which is the actual resource that the operation was done against. In this case, there was an update user for a user within the tenant. And here, this is basically done by a service principal, basically doing a lifecycle policy get request. And then you can see here that it's basically the actual impacted resource. For the sake of this, just so that we can see it, we'll go down to the bottom where it says resource ID, and you see the provider, which is AADIAM, which is used to be Azure Active Directory, but now it's basically Entra ID. They just haven't changed the provider name. All right, so this completes the audit logs overview video. Hope you found this helpful, and I hope to see you in the next one.